If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of where I get to have conversations with writers about why they're writing, what they're writing, and even how they've written it or published it, because there's lots of different ways to tell a story. And today I have a very special, talented guest in who not only speaks English, but speaks and sings and writes in multiple languages. I mean, we're talking Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, English. I mean, we're going to ask her about all of these different things. She writes her own music, but she also performs all over New England doing wonderful I'm going to call them festivals, because like when she's singing, it's not just her on stage. She's bringing an entire energy of whichever language she's singing in. But today, I also want to share with you a book that she wrote because, you know, I was a florist and I'm a flower lover, and she wrote this book about flowers in the city. And I want to talk to her about this book and more. So I want to welcome Dulce Santana. Hello.
Hello.
It's so nice that you got to come into the studio.
Thank you for inviting me.
Do you remember when we first met?
Yes.
It was
in Westfield.
Yeah.
It was an event for authors and some artwork and everything. And I remember you came to my booth and loved, the idea of the flowers, because you used to have
I had a flower shop, yeah.
Yeah. So it was very nice, very good energy.
I mean, this little flower here on the desk that you brought, the sunflower, as you see, I love my sunflowers. Yeah. You have the little flower face on it. It's like my signature. Like when I even sign papers, I draw a little flower on it. And, you had, your whole booth is just decorated with all these little flowers. Yeah. And I was like, this is my world. I know all these flowers. I talk the language of flowers. And then I see this book with all the little faces on it. And I was like, are you an author? So tell us about Flowers in the City. I mean, you wrote this beautiful book, but you illustrated it.
Yes. It took me a while, but, I wanted to do it my way because when you have a vision, you want to be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yes, and you can.
So I wrote the book in English, and I wrote it in Spanish.
Yeah, and watch this. This is going to be a magic trick.
Yeah.
It's written in English, and it's written in Spanish in the same book.
Yes.
Like, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I mean, some people will do books in two languages, but there's two separate books.
Yeah, I wanted to do it this way because I saw in Canada they have that idea sometimes when they do it in English and French.
Yep.
So I thought it was a great idea to just do the two books in one.
Kids are sponges. So if they're reading a book in their native language, whether it be Spanish or English, this is like a perfect book to help teach them the other language, because you can literally go from this exact page in English to that exact page when you flip it over in Spanish. So why did you consider doing this? I know you went to Canada and saw that, but
I used to, for a while, some years ago, I used to work as a paraprofessional and also a substitute teacher. And I used to do translations too. So, and I always have these ideas that just come to me out of nowhere.
The creative
energy.
And
I just write it down and, put it away like many, many others, little stories I have. And this one, it's a nice story about flowers, but behind the story, there's a beautiful message for children to realize how much we are alike, even though we look different.
Yeah.
So
every flower has different energy, different meanings, different colors, different looks, just like children, just like people. And I love that message because, flowers aren't just flowers. And people aren't just people.
Yeah.
But, knowing that we all have, similarities that make us unique, not different.
Yes.
Like these flowers are unique, but they're not different. They're just very unique. They all are a flower with their own meaning.
Yeah. Like people, we're all unique.
Yeah.
That's why we have fingerprints. They're all different.
I mean, just the way, like you said, you're describing the different flowers and, where they grow or what they're looking like and making each one unique. But it translates so well to children.
Yes.
And even adults. Yeah. To say you are valuable. You have a purpose. Just because you don't shine like the sunflower or you only bloom in May like a lily of the valley. It's I just so it took you a long time to illustrate it. What is your painting and drawing, like, where does it come from? Did you study it?
I come from a very talented family. My father was a musician also, and my sister, my older sister, she is the unbelievable artist. She lives in Miami. And I had another sister that passed away, and she was unbelievable too. So everybody is very artistic.
So you just have
everybody
that gene.
Can draw and do something, or sculptures.
Because I did my children's book, and as we talked about this because I was like, I don't draw. Like, I know what I want the pictures to look like, but to hire someone to do that and get them to draw it the way you want. It's better when you do it yourself.
Yes, because you could be, visualizing something very different than the illustrator. Yeah. So if you find somebody that can do that for you and you're happy with it, that would be great.
Yeah.
And it would be quicker.
And do you sell painted copies of these pictures? Because I feel like you should.
No, I don't.
Like little posters and things. Because, your art speaks for itself when you look at
this would be a great idea to have in one of the shows that you can put all the paintings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you had a backdrop like this and hang them.
No, I don't have it, but that would be
it's
good
on
idea.
Amazon. If I plug it from Amazon, do they give me some credit? Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, because the folding walls, they're easy to transport. They're light. Yes. They get lighter.
And you saw my arch that I had.
Which is a beautiful flower arch that's decorated with all these like little flowers that tell us about what you do with these.
These little flowers, I made them, and it's like a necklace that I wear when I do the shows. And I put it like this, and everyone represents different skin colors, and Asian, Caucasian. They're
Spanish. All unique.
Yeah.
And they're all flowers.
So I painted all of them.
I don't know. As a florist, I love this. I'm so behind it.
I know you
have always thought, because, the creative energy and ideas that come in, I'm always like, how great would it be to have a cartoon that's these flower people? You know what I mean? And like, you have the characters right there.
Yeah.
And it's like, to have this, to teach lessons, whatever they are, whether it's teaching them that you're unique, teaching them to find their voice, teaching them to share their gifts, teaching them to listen and honor and obey, and there's so many lessons to teach kids, and to do it in like this little flower segment. For me, flowers are the ultimate language of God in the universe.
Yes.
And because everyone speaks the language of flowers, everyone, rarely does someone walk by a flower and go, everyone. You smile. It makes you smile. It just has that energy. And, flowers and music are like universal languages that even if you don't understand when someone's, like, if you're singing a song in Portuguese, I don't understand Portuguese, but the song, the way you sing it, the music.
You are so right.
It just moves your soul, and it just makes you connect. And, you have all this great energy, and you writing a book wasn't your lifetime goal, right? You just stumbled upon this because you've always been singing.
Yeah, I've always been singing, but when I work with children, all these ideas used to come to me.
Yeah.
And they just stay there, like, not that I space out in school, but it's like part of my mind was working on that, just
because you're creating ideas on how you can relate to the kids to teach them a lesson. And there's no better inspiration when you're in that environment.
Yes.
I'm sure you write your own songs. You have songs that you've written. You have 2 CDs here. Let me pull these out.
This is my first CD, and it's in English and Spanish.
Okay.
And sometimes it's hard to write. Like, there's one of the songs here, One More Time. It's hard to write a song, and you can't translate it word by word because it won't fit in the melody. It won't work out.
Right.
But one of them, that one, it's just flowed right in. And I did it in Spanish too.
Oh, that's
so in this CD, it's in Spanish and it's in English. And some of them, like 4 songs or 5 songs are in English and the rest in Spanish. This one is all in Spanish because I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. It's a beautiful, beautiful city full of great people.
Obviously.
It's a lot of famous doctors and a lot of famous great people from Venezuela, even though you're listening to certain negative things going on. But there will be maybe 1% of people in Venezuela.
It's a beautiful country.
It is. It's a beautiful country.
I've gotten flowers from there as a florist.
Oh my God,
they ship
really?
flowers in from Venezuela.
Oh my God.
And I always say, there's so many beautiful places in the world that we, when you're sheltered, when you live in like small communities, but people forget how much comes into us, know, and just meeting someone like you that's bringing not only that culture, but like sharing the universal gifts, of singing, of flowers, of storytelling. And, your music tells stories whether you listen to the words or not. Do you know what I mean? Because you have...
Yes. And, there's so many people. I'm glad you say that because you don't have to know the lyrics to feel a song, to feel the music. And some people, they just can't do that. When I was a little, I used to listen to American music. I was 7 years old or 6 or something, and I hear these blues songs and everything, and I cry. I didn't know what they were saying, but it's just the melody, and it makes it be like, oh.
And you're writing the lyrics and you're writing the music for your songs.
Yeah. But after we have people, the
collaboration.
With it. And most of the time I don't have the chance to play my songs because we do events where people want to hear something else.
Right, and you do a lot of events, which tell us a little bit about the events that you do.
Okay, I work with 2 different bands. One is called Goza, Goza.
Goza.
They do jazz, Latin jazz. We do music from all over South America. So that's why it's
very upbeat, singing. And I mean that is the music that you just start listening to, and I'm like, okay, let's dance.
And ballads too, and everything. All depends on the event. And we do. There's another band called Mikata that is all Latin jazz. It's a 10-piece band. Sounds great too. And also I do trios, and I work with Jim Argiro. He's here from Agawam. He's a great musician, and that's what we do. All depends on the event. Yeah. That's what.
And you're busy. I mean, between doing special events, doing park concerts, and doing things for the towns, doing private events, going to local bars and venues. You're booked a lot. So it's taken a year to get her in the studio.
Oh.
We've been talking about doing this, but you're like, oh.
And you used to do it in the morning. I was like, oh, can you do something in the afternoon?
No, of course we're going to accommodate. And it's creative people just inspire me so much. And you have...
because you are creative, that's why.
I'm creative in one language. Well, maybe if you count flower language and spiritual language.
No, but in everything.
The fact that, you're writing your music, you're performing so much music that you've memorized because they're not your songs, but just the art of being an actress, to memorize scripts and to memorize music. That alone is a gift. And to have the voice to do it, bonus.
We memorize a lot of things, and sometimes we have a little tablet there, take a little look.
That's a good thing with the tablets nowadays. I see a lot of musicians on stage will have
oh my God, you have to when you're doing so many different things.
Yeah. Even just to refer to for the set list, like what's next or, but it's very convenient.
Yeah.
So when you're doing your book events, can we talk a little bit about how you're marketing your books at these events? Because I know you do quite a few book signings.
Yes. I try to do the book authors event, but sometimes they do craft fairs. Like I just did one in Amherst. It was going to be outdoors and it rained, Sunday. So they did it in the middle school.
I did see that they announced it was going to change.
And it was okay. The morning was a little tough, It's like a lot of people didn't show up in the morning, but in the afternoon it was good. It was good, and they had some activities for the kids, and they have lots of vendors. They have music. So it was really nice. It was really nice.
I mean, because your table's just, it's fun to see. So it automatically draws your eyes over there. And as an author, you know, it's hard to get people to come to the table sometimes. You know, people are hesitant to go find out what the book's about or to talk to an author. So, you know, you have a very inviting table. I just did a book event for mine. And of course, in the book, the kids play with a parachute. So I take a parachute out and, you know, the kids get to play with a parachute. So, of course, that gets to draw them over. And with yours, you know, having the flowers or, you know, making flowers at the table and, you know, drawing things, like it's just so engaging, you know, and the bilingualness of the book and to be able to teach people 2 languages is a huge factor that, I mean, I tell preschool teachers, everyone, I always bring up your book. I mean, and, you know, because I'm like, this is a great book. It's a great tool to learn with.
Yes. And I've done a few, maybe about, I don't know, this year was maybe like 6 of them, where I go to the schools, I get an invitation, and I read to the children. And some of them, I'm hired to do an hour event where I bring the materials for the children to make these gorgeous flowers. I know how to make them, so I prepare all the, you know, the flowers, and they can choose the colors, and they have like different colors in between them. You know, those tissue paper,
the
flowers,
tissue flowers,
and everything. And one time they brought these middle school kids, and I was like, oh my God. The middle school kids.
Yeah.
They're
tough.
No, but they were, in the beginning, they were like, you know, with their attitude and everything. But after, they really got into it. And we did this flowers. I read the story to them in both languages because they were bilingual kids.
Nice.
And some of them, they didn't speak Spanish. And after we did the flowers, we sang a song. So it was really, really nice, and they really enjoyed it. They were going out of the room. It was a library. And they were all hugging me, and it was so nice.
Fun. So what kind of songs do you sing with them?
Well, it's a very short song that I wrote for the book.
I want her to sing it on the show. We'll think about it, because, you know, it's so engaging, you know, like doing a show like this. I mean, obviously I want writers who are looking to write to find out some tips from us, you know, like, if you can illustrate your own book, do it. You know?
And my tip will be that if you have an inspiration, something inspired you to write about, just write it down. And after, you know, go back to it, and maybe you add more.
Yeah,
you know,
you got to follow that
anybody
flow.
Can write, you know, if you have that desire and if you have the inspiration.
Yeah.
I do everything with inspiration. If not, if I have to do it.
Well, if you're inspired, you'll get the passion to follow through with.
Yes.
You know, and that's important.
Oh, yeah.
You can move mountains. Some things I can get inspired, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do that, but I'll pass that inspiration to someone else. I'll be like, you know, you should consider doing this, you know.
Oh, because you don't want to do it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have this great invention for the KP9, which is a floral tool for florists. But I'm not like one to, you know, go to a manufacturer and get the patent for it. But I'm like, okay, I can tell you all about this because, you know, it's a knife and a pen, and it can do a lot. So if you want to do that,
so maybe that person is going to end up making millions.
You know,
and you go, hey, remember
I
me?
I did copyright it a little bit. I don't know if that helps. I didn't trademark it because that's not like my passion, you know, to trademark something. I know how to copyright books and things like that.
Yeah, me too.
But, you know, like you said, when you get the inspiration for something, and, you know, musicians, I always feel understand this the best, because if you hear a song in your head and you don't write it down in that moment, it can just go. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that was such a great song. Why didn't I write it down? And if you're getting the inspiration, just jot it down on a little piece of paper. That's all. You'll visit it later. And if it's, you know, meant for you to follow through the passion, it'll all come back to you.
That's true. That's true.
Know? So, did you bring an instrument today?
Yes, I brought an instrument.
What did you bring?
This is a typical instrument for music from Venezuela. It's called the Cuatro.
Because there's 4 strings.
It has 4 strings.
Because I would say it's a guitar, but
other countries they have, you know, like the ukulele, but it sounds very different. And I think Puerto Rico has a Cuatro also, but theirs have 6 strings. So I always ask Puerto Rican people, I said, why do they call this
a Cuatro?
Cuatro when they have 6 strings?
Yeah, why?
But maybe it started with, they don't
even know.
Give me an answer, but maybe it started with 4 strings, and then and after they made it into a 6 string.
What are the notes of the strings? I'm just curious.
Oh, God.
Don't like... Me.
I'm not a Cuatro
Okay, well,
player.
you played the guitar for a while, so I know, that there's
really?
notes, but I'm like, with a Cuatro, are they, maybe they're completely unique. It's very true.
This is something I played when I was little. I really don't play Cuatro that much, but you can hear the lyrics of the song, and the lyrics of the song has to do a lot with the book.
Okay.
So listen to the lyrics, not the Cuatro playing. Okay. Flowers in the city, flowers in the park. You can hear them blooming when the morning starts. All with different colors, all with different shapes, but each one beautiful in their own way. Each one beautiful in their own way. Flores en la ciudad, flores en el parque, las verás creciendo de mañana y tarde, con diferentes colores, las verás por donde quieras. Flores muy bonitas, bonitas a su manera. Flores muy bonitas, bonitas a su manera. La 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 la. That's it.
That was beautiful. And, again, you're doing both languages, and, you just hear the words, and it's the
I
same
don't play the
melody.
Cuatro that much.
It was beautiful. And you have such a beautiful voice. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Can you see why she's entertaining every night out? Like, listen to that voice and the energy and the passion behind it. But so do you play that song when you go to the schools and things like that for the kids?
Yes, and I made a whole, board thing.
So they can sing along with you?
Yes.
Oh, that would be, because I was like, if I knew it, it's so catchy.
And they really liked it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, especially because, you think boys singing flowers are beautiful, flowers,
But they were there, and some of them, they were already the voices changing. Flowers are in the city. It was funny.
Oh. How long have you been singing?
Oh, since I was a little.
How long have you been performing?
For a long time. I remember one time I even won a contest in Venezuela. I was like 14. And my parents didn't. It was from Italy. Mm-hmm. They came, they had the San Remo festival or something, and they were like, no, you're not going to get into that. They were very protective, and they didn't want us to be into music or anything like that. But after a while, they sort of kept going.
But your father's a performer. He was into music.
Yeah. So
did you sing in Italian then?
I have family from, my grandmother was French. My grandfather from Spain, in the Dominican Republic. They lived there for years. They moved to Venezuela. And I have a lot of Italian relatives also. Mm-hmm. So I really started singing a lot of songs in Italian. Because I had older sisters that were already married to Italians. So we used to just like go water skiing and all that. And everybody there spoke Italian. There were a lot of, like a big Italian community.
So you didn't necessarily study any languages. You just grew up with all these languages.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's...
But it's so easy because there's a lot of words too that are very similar. Mm-hmm. In
especially
Italian,
English and Spanish and Italian.
Yeah. And Portuguese.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Especially Brazilian Portuguese. It's so easy to understand and everything. From Portugal, it's a little bit different for me. It would be like English from England and English from America.
Yeah. No, I love you. I love being near your energy. I love hearing all of this
Me
stuff.
too. I remember when you came to me in that event, and I was like, oh, she's so nice. I love her.
So I want to go back to the books because, of course, I know why you wrote it. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you published it because I had a similar journey and I didn't even know this. But, how did you, you write a book, that's one thing. You illustrate it, that's a huge other thing. Then you got to put it all together, but you got it published. And what was that journey like?
Oh, hard. Really hard. Because I really didn't know where to go. I wanted to keep it local. Yeah. So should I say who?
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay, with Sylvia Street right here in Agawam. And so they were really nice, and we did the whole book, and they understood the idea of the flipping of the book and everything else. We have a friend that also helped me with putting the book together ready for the publisher, because it's not that easy. You have to have the right measurements.
You have to do all of that work yourself.
Yes. So, and after they have that service where they put it in Amazon.
On Amazon, yeah.
And that was the only service they have.
Okay, they have a few more now, but I mean, because when I went to do my children's book with them, because again, like mine, I wanted to do local. I wanted the help with making sure that the pictures weren't pixelated. I was going to do KDP, but I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't know you went to Silver Street. But when I went there, I brought a few books with me and said, I don't want it to be like this. And I literally was like, but I want it to be like this. I like this size. I like the color. I like the vibrancy. And they go, oh, we did that book. And I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. But it's just so helpful for someone to bring a book that they know they want it to look like, so that the publisher themselves can say, okay, this is the size you want. This is the page thickness, and you had to go through.
That's so important. Everything. It's
and as an illustrator, I mean, you're doing all these things on paper, but then you had to upload it to the computer and then send them the files.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was a little hard because the first copy they gave me, my pictures, they were dull. And I was like, my picture don't look like that. So they went and they did the editing and everything else, and it came out like this.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get it published?
Ooh, I can't remember.
Oh. What year did you write it? How many years ago?
2.
Oh, I was thinking it was before the pandemic. It was after the.
Through the pandemic, I was doing all the illustrations.
Okay.
So it wasn't that hard for me. The pandemic, it was just listening to music and painting, and because it's all watercolors with acrylics and some airbrush also, like the clouds and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, where is this book available for people to buy it?
Amazon.com, and also when I do events, I sell it, and when I sing, I try to bring it with me.
When you're doing your book events, do you bring your CDs too?
Yes.
Sorry. So you're marketing it all.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not? It's an opportunity to.
I get it.
Sell.
I market the podcast with all my books too, and trying to market everybody who's come on the show all at once.
Yeah.
Where can people find out where you're going to be for book signings or events?
Okay, so if any schools they're interested in having me for an event, they can write to me to Dulce Santana Books at gmail.com.
Right here, all connected with the word books after it.
Yes, and also Facebook, Dulce Santana.
Okay.
And that's about it, right?
All right. Well, when the show is uploaded to YouTube and to all the things, I'll put the links below. Hopefully we can get your email out there, because it'd be great. More schools should have you in doing this.
Yes.
I mean, this
and
is
it's great for the kids, and it's
it builds community, it builds confidence.
And they really understood the idea of the book, because we have a little conversation about it, and they understood.
Yeah.
The idea behind the story.
Well, you know what? Congratulations on a really good book, but oh my gosh, congratulations on just being a wonderful human being with so many gifts to give the world, and that you share them. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Everyone, that is Dulce Santana, and I want to thank her so much for being on the show today. And I want to thank you, the listening audience, for tuning in each week and subscribing to the YouTube channel. I appreciate everybody who does hit subscribe, because that's important to people who do have podcasts. I sit here every week with a new guest and just get so inspired, and just feel the loving energy of being a creative person. And each show there's something new that we learn, that not only about the author and why we want to read their books, but something, if you have that story that you're yearning to tell, that you can sit down and do. And today, I give you a writing prompt. So when the show is over in a few minutes, you're going to set your timer for 5 or 10 minutes. And you don't have to be an illustrator, you don't have to know how to draw, but you do need to be able to tell a story. And whether that story is something that is inside you and an experience you had, or it's inside you and it's a imaginative, inspired story, it's something you need to get down on paper. And, we've been talking to Dulce here about, her telling stories through her songwriting, but for a children's book, and to tell people that, they're unique and original, and, we're not all so different. We are all very similar, but we have our uniqueness. So if you wanted to just take the time today to just start writing about your own uniqueness, just sit down and just say, my name is, and I am unique because. Start that off, but then as you're writing about halfway through, talk about how your uniqueness is similar to other people's uniqueness, because you're going to see that the similarities we have are all there, but we're all very unique. And it might be a story you need to share with somebody too. So happy writing. Thank you again for subscribing and always watching the show, yWrite, and I will see you next week. Have a great day. Bye.